Star Wars Visions was released as one of the first Star Wars animated offshoots in a while. The overall vision of Star Wars Visions was to have multiple different Japanese animation studios create their version of Star Wars. Some episodes are better than others, but we're going to discuss which ones are the best. So stay tuned to today's video as we rank the first 9 episodes of Star Wars Visions, from worst to best. Number 9. Akakiri. It's sad to say that such an ambitious and unique entry in Star Wars Visions is ranked so low down on this list. Of course, sometimes ambition doesn't make a product live up to its expectations. This is true of the first episode on this list, Akakiri. This episode follows the story of Tsubaki meeting up with his old flame, Misa. He does this to fight against her aunt, who is gone mad recently with dark side energy. Destiny is what haunts Tsubaki throughout the entire episode as he fights against visions of death and other mystical plots that stand in his path. He even at one point wages a personal war to prove that he is his own master and better than the one he is fighting. The tale of his episode is pretty basic, but the animation is on point. There are expressive animation designs which makes it easier to get inside the headspace of Tsubaki and emphasize with him. However, despite this, the episode ends on a very sour note, leaving Tsubaki in a very terrible point in his life. This really kills the episode, as throughout it's very hype and covers a tragic story, but ends in disaster. Number 8. Tatooine Rhapsody. Next on this list is Tatooine Rhapsody, which has one of the most basic art styles in the series. This episode follows a similar art style to normal cartoons of the current day. This entry in Star Wars Visions is about a Jedi and their Padawan that managed to escape the culling of Order 66. This entry follows a young man named Jay who partners with a Hutt to start a rock band. Both of them find it hard to gain an identity in worlds that do not accept them as who they are. This is very similar to other Star Wars stories we have seen in the comic books and animated series. It's a pretty cool premise for Star Wars, but because of the basic animation and plot, it doesn't really stand out amongst the other episodes. Number 7. The Ninth Jedi. When dealing with Star Wars, it's hard to fit everything you want to talk about into a short episode. This is where The Ninth Jedi struggles. Despite it being one of the better written episodes in the series so far, the episode follows the story of a stray wannabe Jedi in response to a mysterious message trying to restore the Jedi Order. The episode has many twists and turns, but its premise and story are so much bigger than the episode itself. This sort of story is really good, but just doesn't fit into the short format of the Star Wars Visions. The mystery is really fun to watch, and the animation is really good, but the story is very incomplete because of the short format. It would have been much better if it was a short miniseries or even its own animated film, but alas. Number 6. TOB1. This is one of the cutest episodes in this series as it follows a young droid trying to become a Jedi one day. The animation is quirky and cute and has some really soft designs throughout. It's got a pretty generic plot reminiscent of all the children's anime, but resonates in its audience as you are rooting for the droid. It's probably light for basically all of its runtime. There are dreamlike sequences and even a pretty cool fight against an Inquisitor, which has a lot of creativity to it with its art style. Overall, the tone and aesthetic are really good for the episode, but it's lacking with a pretty unengaging narrative. This is the only thing really holding this episode back from greatness, as it sits at number 6 on our list. Number 5. The Elder. This is a personal favorite for most people who've watched Star Wars Visions, as it deals with one of the most important story threads throughout the Star Wars universe. This is, of course, the relationship between master and apprentice seen within the prequel era. The episode is akin to something like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi seen in The Phantom Menace. The episode explores this type of Star Wars law with its own original pair, Tajin, a wise master, and his Padawan, Dan. Dan is eager to prove himself, but his master's words of wisdom and caution give this story a very cool touch. It's about the pursuit of power and the temptation of the dark side, wrapped up in a really interesting story. The combat style is really cool, and the episode overall shows that less is more in animation sometimes. Overall, this is a really good episode and sits at number 5. Number 4. The Duel. Episode 4 on this list is The Duel and is easily one of the best episodes in the series, but is held back because of other better episodes in the Star Wars Visions. This episode is something akin to Kurosawa movies, as it takes this samurai and black and white art style. The visuals are very striking, using CG characters and gritty stylization, which sort of looks like 2D animation at first. The black and white color choice is perfect. Certain moments have bright colors, which draw attention to the interesting parts of the absurd. It also gives extra drama to very mundane scenes like a pot boiling water in the episode. The action is very engaging, but what it holds back is the story being pretty basic. If you are familiar with the kinds of films that this episode borrows from, you basically know the story before even starting the episode. However, either way, it's awesome to see Star Wars in this sort of art style and setting, as it is the first time we have seen it. Number 3, The Twins. The Twins is a very stylish and cool episode that embraces the level of camp that early Star Wars films and projects have. All of this is delivered with pure confidence and accompanied by some very fitting over-the-top effects. The visuals allow you to embrace the absurdity of the story being told and is a genuine love letter from those who created it. This episode is pure Star Wars, and if you love the goofy nature of early films, you'll love this episode. That is why it sits at number 3 on this list, and nothing else needs to be said. Number 2, The Village Bride. Among a series of short films that carry wild, unique visual styles and stories that stretch the boundaries of the Star Wars universe, The Village Bride goes for a more simple, grounded approach. It follows a wandering Jedi, guilt-ridden after surviving Order 66, when most of her friends were not so lucky. Instead of high-stakes action, her reflection on her place in the world after this tragedy carries most of the short. She finds herself on a world that is as far removed from that conflict as possible. A society that has a unique culture around the Force that challenges the franchise's usual ideas about destiny and what an individual owes to the world around them. In a franchise obsessed with grand narratives and world-ending battles, The Village Bride asks us to take a step back and appreciate that no matter what happens, life goes on, and that is refreshing. It's a story that could easily be told without any of the Star Wars baggage, but is made more meaningful when placed in relation to that history, which is exactly the kind of thing an anthology like this is best used for. And finally, number 1, Lop and Ocho. The final episode doesn't really stand out from a simple description, but its features are perfection. The episode has a very Japanese-inspired society and imperial forces trying to take on a peaceful world. There is even a surprise Jedi connection that allows the protagonist of the episode to fight back against the injustice she's feeling. This is what makes the episode such a compelling one, and is the best in the 9-episode collection. There are themes of greed, environmentalism, and mainly consequences of imperialism, which Star Wars deals with on a regular basis. Despite all of this, the episode feels fresh, and its story understands the values of family. Other than this episode is topped off with some of the best and most kinetic animated sequences we have seen in a long time. In the runtime the episode is given, it does a lot, leaving us with characters that many will remember for a long time to come. This is the best Star Wars Visions episode and really embodies the idea of the series. And that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know down in the comment section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course, subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye!